Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to my review of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. As always, let's start with my cards on the table. Firstly, this was an unexpected gift from Mr. Piper. It was my birthday a little while back and he was kind enough to gift this to me on Steam, and although I don't think it will affect the scoring of it, I thought it was important that I highlight that I didn't actually go out and buy this game myself. I did want the game, it was on my wish list. I was actually going to wait for it to come out on PS4, but Piper beat me to the punch and he went out and got it, so I played through it. Secondly, as I mentioned, it's being played on the PC. Now, I do not have the best PC in the world. I don't have a big, top gaming rig. Looking at the recommended settings, it fell a bit short of that, but it was well within the range for the minimum settings, and the game performed okay. There's a few technical issues in the game that you might see in the gameplay footage that I've put behind you, but at the end of the day, I was running capture software in the background and I had the game on high for most of the time, so I was actually trying to pinch a bit too much, so that shouldn't reflect badly on the game whatsoever. Let's crack on to the actual game itself. This is a first-person adventure game where you take control of a detective known as Paul Prospero. He's come to visit a fictional town of Red Creek Valley on the back of a curious fan letter that's been sent to him by none other than Ethan Carter. And as soon as you touch down, it's quite evident that not all is as it seems in Red Creek Valley. You're let off the chain to investigate the disappearance of Ethan, and you're going to stumble across many strange and sometimes disturbing situations which will require you to use Paul's unique and somewhat supernatural skills to piece together exactly what has occurred. There's a fantastic mechanic which lets you pick up clues in the surrounding area, and once you've done this, you've then got to piece together the timeline for the event. Doing this successfully and in order will show exactly what had happened before you have arrived. You'll be able to then move on to the next situation, and it's somewhat of a free and open map. The only question or query I had with this particular part of the game was that you'd expect the scenes to crank up in terms of difficulty and how complex they are, but they actually get easier and a lot more straightforward and a lot shorter, which does damage the sense of progression in it. It almost feels like they used all their good ideas early and then didn't have a lot left in the locker for later on. And the game itself is very slow paced, and it relies heavily on its atmosphere, its puzzle solving and its visual. Thankfully, the atmosphere is good, the puzzles are good, and the visuals are incredible. The graphics are some of the best I've seen come out of an indie game. It really is top drawer. The puzzles are fairly interesting. If you're not into puzzle games, you probably won't enjoy this too much, but the atmosphere of Red Creek Valley is fantastic as well. It's perfectly set. You've got a great soundtrack against this brilliant open map that you can go off and explore. As I said, there's plenty of puzzles to solve throughout the journey, and these help drive the fantastic story that the astronauts have created. Now, the astronauts are the indie studio behind this game, and the story that they've created can seem somewhat disjointed at first, but the more you delve into the secrets of Red Creek Valley, the more you progress, the more you'll appreciate what a great narrative you're actually working through. Now, there's a disclaimer at the very beginning of the game which is quite interesting. It actually says the game will not hold your hand throughout this game, throughout this experience, and it really doesn't. You will start out with little or no idea on how the mechanics work or what you're supposed to be doing, and in a strange way it can be quite overwhelming to start with, but as with most games, once you settle in and once you get used to it, you will soon be piecing together the disturbing scenes in no time. The only gripe I had is that I wish they'd included a map, and this is strictly because my personal experience was that I was spending a lot of time running around getting lost and backtracking over areas that I'd previously been to because the paths all sort of circle around on one another, and when you're stumbling and stuttering around for what seems like an eternity, it does damage the flow of the game. So I wish a map could have just been included. I could just see if I was on the right tracks now and again. You'd think a detective would take a map to a town that he'd never visited, but that's a different story for another day. All in all, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is a unique take on how a detective game can be conducted within a video game. It's got incredibly strong visuals, the fantastic story will impress along with its great detective mechanics and puzzles. It doesn't offer great replay value, but I'll certainly be looking back on my time spent with fondness. My official grading for The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is silver. Now, there will be a Let's Play series of my playthrough which will start next week, so if you want to get a bit more of a closer look at the game and see how it actually works through an actual playthrough, I suggest you check that out. Or if you want to watch the entire playthrough in its entirety, feel free to do that. I've got nothing more to say here, but apart from thanks for your time and ta-da.